conference. Like I said, we saved the best for last.
Beautiful.
Let's go ahead and get over to it.
I like how we saved Mountain West for last, but every year we just start off with the AAC because we're like, this is the most annoying conference. We're just getting it out of the way.
So kind of like how we done before, we show all three of our runner-ups first, and then the group's runner-ups and the ECG runner-up, and then we do the same thing and we just kind of react to it. So first one up. Well, not Arkansas.
Yeah, the Creighton Cardinal. I forgot what they were already called.
So here we go. As far, if you guys want me to get started, if you guys want to speak, I got a lot to say about Boise State, which is gonna cover it probably for most of us. But I'm actually interested in Sora, why you picked a Hawaii right here though.
Hold up, I have to close tabs. I was looking up the all the first round wide receivers. Hold, please. So Hawaii is very interesting just because of one guy, their quarterback, Braden Schrager, returning for another year and led the Mountain West in passing offensive yards. I don't know why I said it like that, just in passing yards. So I think it's going to be pretty interesting. Hawaii had a lot of just returning talent in general, and a lot of the guys that they got were, top talent in the Mountain West. Like you've got where'd he go? I've lost him. This is upsetting. Pofele Ashlock for only 832 yards. Dude had 9 touchdowns as well. Or dude had 9 touchdowns, and it just kind of
the beginning of his season was kind of nutty though. I remember watching a bunch of their games. Ashlock,
and I mean that's just kind of the thing. There's a lot of it can return to that, nutty performance that he had, and just again with a lot of the returning talent from Hawaii, it's going to be interesting. It I think they had like 24 named people on the Mountain West. So Hawaii's got a lot of good returning talent. It's really going to depend if they can kind of put it together.
Did Stephen McBride, did he come back?
I believe so, yes.
Or did he? Yeah. So yeah, Stephen McBride had over 1,000 yards last year, but I think Ashlock is going to go nutty.
Yeah, because both him and defensive backup Vidrell Edwards were named to the 2025 East West Shrine Bowl. I do remember seeing that earlier today.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, with Boise State, man, obviously they went against, and we're going to talk about UNLV because I'm interested in what Tony has to say after losing Jaden Mayava. But, they won against UNLV, and they won the Mountain West title. The interesting thing about this is Spencer Danielson stepped up and replaced Andy Avalos, who was their head coach before. But at the end of that season, after he filled in for him, of course, they went 3-1, went to the Mountain West Championship. And whenever you do something like that, of course, you want to go ahead and hire that guy, right? I mean, he's only 35 years old, one of the youngest coaches in college football, next to Kenny Dillingham, our boy out in Arizona State, former Florida State great. He did, and under Oregon, seeing how he developed, Bo Nix and things like that. But we're not talking about Kenny. We're talking about Spencer Danielson here. Of course, he's a defensive minded coach, former linebacker. And that's one thing that I'm interested in seeing out of Spencer Danielson is, will that defense improve? A couple of things that they did in the off seasons where they went out and got 2 Power 5 corners who I'm looking forward to seeing how they're going to perform. Devin Banks from Washington after being in the national championship, and then Jeremiah Irby from Cal. And that's one place where they lacked, and you're going to hear me say this probably more than once. Their defensive back unit, it was the weakest. They were terrible against the pass. I mean, 112th in the conference, or in the country, not in the conference, but in the country. There's not 112 teams in the Mountain West, brother. But yeah, they were 112th in the conference. It was crazy. Obviously, One of the biggest pickups that they got was Malachi Nelson. I believe he was a former 5-star quarterback out of USC, and that I remember when that happened. That just shocked everybody. Like, why the hell would you leave a guy like Lincoln Riley who just churns out not Hall of Famer, but Heisman like quarterbacks?
Yeah.
But he's obviously, if he can reach up to his talent, he's going to be great for their passing game, which they sucked in passing last year. They were number 71 in the country, but obviously how Boise State gets down, and maybe the philosophy is going to change, is they're going to be off the back of Ashton Jeanty. He returns as a 1,300-yard season, after a 1,300-yard season and 14 touchdowns. The one thing that I like about, if you watch Ashton Jeanty on film, he's one of the best running backs. Everybody likes to talk about, contact balance and things like that. He's one of the best running backs in that aspect of his game. Now, a thing, like I said, is not only their defense, but their offense is where, I'm very interested to see, especially in their wide receiving core. Will they be healthy enough to continue to push forward and get better in that aspect? But they pick up Cam Camper in the transfer portal from Indiana, Chris Marshall from Texas A&M, who is also a JUCO product. Our boy Khalil knows all about him probably. But, they pick up 2 receivers to kind of help them with the health of that wide receiving core and kind of get some stability around there. They will be familiar and strong with their offensive line. They got 4 returning starters, including who I think is one of the best offensive linemen in the Mountain West, in 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝗶H. So that's going to obviously be a bright spot for them. And another bright spot, if we had to say anybody out of their defensive unit, is 𝗎𝙁𝙗𝑒𝑖𝑛, who had 12.5 sacks last year. So I think their front line is going to be, their front seven is going to be pretty strong. The DBs are the only question, like I said, and they improved in that area. But I don't know if it's going to be enough for them to gel together in this first year and to get them as far as they need to, since they were so bad in the passing game. Hopefully the rest of those guys can develop and step in, because it can't just be 2 familiar faces stepping in. As far as their schedule to close this out, they have matchups against Oregon State this season. But to me, they could have upsets against Hawaii. They can have upset. Hawaii's, I think, is a sneaky team. We talked about that, Soren, and you talk about Braden Shager and those boys. Like, they definitely, if their defensive backs are exposed like they were last year, it might be a long day for them. San Diego State, who we already know under Sean Lewis, coming from Colorado, and what he did in the MAC conference, can he set them up for the success that I think that he wasn't able to pretty much open up, because I think Coach Prime kind of limited him? But there's no way that you're a head OC at a team for 1 year and then you get hired as a head coach after a 4-loss season, unless they know that you were a talented head coach. So you got to put San Diego State on your bingo card of maybe upsets for Boise State that may hold them back. So it's kind of my outlook, man. I think Boise State's going to be a good team. I just think the question marks are way too big of question marks. But Spencer Danielson and the boys, I think year 3 under his, well, technically it would be year 2, but his 3rd season as head coach for them, to see what it, well, do you consider this a 3rd or 2nd year? I'm gonna just say in his 2nd full year as a head coach.
I would say 2nd year, first, like, it's a 2nd year, but it's going to be his first full year, because he had the experience of bringing them to the Mountain West Championship, bringing them to a bowl game, bringing them back from 3-0, or from 3-0. Sorry, 2-3 straight wins to get into said Mountain West Conference Championship.
Right, I would have to agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see. I think, like I said, in his full first season after being 3-1, his first year taking over, then he got hired after that. Then this is his first full season as their coach. I think next year, with what he can do in the transfer portal and the recruits that they're able to get in, Boise State might be back on top, and we might see them as a familiar face in the college football playoff, even though they might get the brakes beat off of them. But having Malachi Nelson sure gets you a step forward, hopefully. But
it counts.
Tony, UNLV, man.
Listen, they were there in the Mountain West Championship game last year. Barry Odom
you know, he got these guys motivated last season, 9-3, got into the Mountain West Championship. Now losing their quarterback to USC, that does
Jaden
put a little bit of
Mayava.
that does hinder them a little bit, but bringing guys in Matthews, Solka and Haji Malik Williams, those guys could compete to see who would be the best starter. But they still do got receiver Ricky White. They have 4 returners.
Oh, I forgot about Ricky White. Oh,
Ricky White is still there.
Why would you say that name? Why would you say that name?
One of the best receivers in the country, just in
I
general.
pulled a bunch of his cards last night.
I want one.
If UNLV wins, we'll get you one.
Okay. They do have 4 returning starters up front. Also, Jaden Thomas he's still there. He's probably going to get an increase in carries this year. Their offense is really good. It's the question mark of Odom's background as a defensive guy. They didn't look great on the defensive side last year, giving up like 28 points a game. But hopefully with Jalen Catalon coming in at the safety position, hopefully that helps. They still have Jackson Woodward and Jalen Dixon up in the front 7. It should help something, but I have them as the runner-up because of history. Like, they could be there again.
Right.
Genuinely.
Right.
Now, you gave the whole spiel on who I genuinely think is going to be the winner of the Mountain West. Genuinely.
Yeah.
And I can't argue with Boise State.
Well, we'll get into it, man.
Everything got really quiet, and I was like, "Did I just go deaf? What's happening?"
No,
sorry.
No, Tony was just like, and I do have to say, and then I just didn't hear anything else after that. I went, wait.
I think you might have cut up on your end. But here's the runner-ups for the rest of the guys. They have Fresno State.
Ooh,
Khalid agrees with me on Boise State, but
this man. No, I'm kidding.
Because of what you said about Boise State, we gave Fresno State the runner up there. So I mean, I don't really disagree. I think these are going to be 2 of the strongest teams. Obviously, if you
watch out for Mikey Keene
now,
if you talk about our winners, you guys got Boise State and I have Fresno State, so I was absolutely the opposite. Well, you mentioned Mikey Keene, right? And I've been praising Mikey Keene ever since he was at UCF, right? And almost, those Hawaii guys like him and Dylan Gabriel coming all the way across the country and then coming back home, like it's so weird coming back to the West Coast,
dominating too.
Well, Mikey Keene was all right. I wouldn't say he had dominating stats, but he definitely had the talent, and that's the reason why he transferred out. I'm not sure if him and Gus Malzahn just didn't get along, but that's neither here nor there. I still think Mikey Keene could be one of the best quarterbacks in college football right now. The one thing to note last year, just watching that San Jose game, I remember watching that game, he ended up getting a concussion, which kind of lingered over for the rest of his season. So he never eclipsed that 3,000 mark on his season, had about 20 touchdowns. But he can definitely get 3,500 yards and 25 touchdowns when he's healthy. I truly believe that with what they got going on. They return Malik Sherrod, who almost had 1,000 yards on the ground. So you pretty much have 1,000-yard back there. Jalen Moss, Mark Delina, and Josiah Freeman are 3 of the best wide receivers in the Mountain West across the board. So, and then who I think is the best offensive line unit in the Mountain West, if not in college football, is coming out of Fresno State. They only gave up 19 sacks in Mountain West play last year. So when we talk about the biggest question marks on our team, you know where we're going, just like with what I said about Boise State. But on Fresno, it's definitely their defense. Their offense is intact. They have pretty much everybody coming back that they need to come back, and they have a healthy Mikey Keene. So again, the biggest question is their defense. But they picked up some additions in the transfer portal. They picked up Corey Freeman out of USC, who's a well-rounded defensive lineman, able to get to the quarterback. He's able to knock down balls. He's able to intercept balls. So, he's going to be really good for them as being like an all-around defensive player. They do return a guy that got hurt, had a really bad chest injury where it sidelined him for the rest of his 2023 season, which was Cam Lockridge. So they get him back. They get a bona fide starter coming back, and he's going to be, out there as long as he can stay healthy again. But 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝗶𝗲𝘀𝗀, which is a crazy name, 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝘀𝗀𝗀 had to step in his place. And by all accounts, he was a dog last year, and he could be the legitimate number 2, if not the legitimate number 1, if he can capitalize on what he did last year. He might be able to trump what Cam Lockridge is able to do this year. But as we know, earlier this year, well, not earlier this year, I believe in June, Jeff Tedford had to step down, their head coach, and their linebackers coach, who's the assistant head coach, and Tim Skipper had to step in his place as well. So they got him as coach. But this is just like a Dante. Like, if I had to look into the galaxy of things and see what happened with like the Baltimore Ravens when Ray Lewis was retiring, and and Peyton Manning going with the Broncos, like stuff like that. And we've seen that with, those are just 2 major teams, but we've seen this with teams time and time again. I think I'm a believer in, influences like that. A Jeff Tedford that's been with Boise State and had a lot of success, not only there, but in the Pac-12, him not being able to be with that team in the capacity that he wants to be, to focus on his health, is really going to help that team try to be as healthy, try to be as good as possible for the rest of the season. And I think it honestly starts out with their first game against Michigan. Like, Michigan is going to be a tough matchup for them. They're going to have a really good defense going against the best corner in college football as well. And I think they're going to play inspiring. I actually think that game is going to scare Michigan just a little bit of what they can be as an offensive unit, but it's definitely going to test them, because if they can even just show a little bit of light against Michigan's defense, it's going to be hell to pay for the rest of the league. And they play them week 1. So they're really going to know what their team is about, versus other teams that are going to play a lot of scrubs on their schedules and things like that. They started with the big dog week 1, and that's going to be able to set them up for success the rest of their season. The only other games that I see that they probably going to have problems with, I think Air Force, we already know what Air Force is about. It's hard to defend their offense. And Colorado State has a lot of returning guys. And, Coach Norvell there, he's going to want to get one back on Colorado, and that might carry the momentum for the rest of their season too, who I think we actually called maybe an upset for that game when Colorado has to travel to Colorado State Stadium. But yeah, man, that's just how I feel about Fresno State. I think offense wins in the Mountain West, and their defense is just going to be good enough. I don't see too many question marks like I saw with Boise State for sure.
I mean, Fresno always is going to have a great offense, and just in general in the Mountain West Conference, it's always been fireworks. Always. If you want a good late night Friday night football game, you watch the Mountain West Conference. I don't know why it's always been like that, but it's always been the best football. I can't knock it's just the uncertainty with the coach situation. That's why I didn't have him as a runner up, or even the winner of the conference. But I had to, if I was doing a pick, Boise State is like the clear cut, always going to be there somehow, some way, unless they move into a different conference.
I feel that.
When's the last time we were wrong about a Boise State pick?
I haven't had them ranked too highly, but that's just me being honest.
I feel that.
In the last couple of years,
have been the opposite, because I have said pretty much all throughout this offseason. And again, if we go back to the top 5, Boise State was one of my teams that I had of top 5 underrated, not top 5 in general. Mm-hmm. But top 5 underrated, I've had Boise. I've been talking about Boise State a lot this offseason.
They're gonna be good. They're probably, it's either gonna be them or Tulane.
How do we get out to Idaho real quick?
Ooh, let's go to Idaho.
Dante, just take some nauseous pills. You'll be fine.
Ooh, it's going to be mountain high, baby.
Huh?
I don't know.
Some nauseous pills so you don't have to look at the blue field.
Oh, I can't do that, bro.
Nah. That's why I said.
I even played against them in college football 25. I just had to simulate that week. I was like, I'll take that.
Oh, my God.
I'll take it.
I mean, Albertson Stadium, it's a beautiful scenery. It's
capacity of 36,000, baby.
I can't do that blue field.
I mean, it's either that or we go to Eastern Washington for a game on that red field.
I'd rather watch it on a red field, straight up. I'd rather watch a red field. That doesn't.
Psycho.
I can't do the red field, dude.
I can do the red field. I can't do the blue field.
I mean, hey, we all know what the best colored field is, and that is Coastal Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
It's the easiest to look at, and it's not exactly green, it's not exactly blue. It's right there in the middle. All right, we're getting off topic.
No, but them damn Astro pellets, them shit's uncomfortable.
Man,
Coastal Carolina was very wild. I didn't mind it.
Oh, but no, like, yeah, Boise should win this. It should be them or Tulane in the playoff. Period.
Yeah.
So I got Boise State for a couple of the reasons that were already mentioned. As kind of Dante mentioned, was Malachi Nelson. Let's not forget that this dude was the #1 prospect in the 2023 class. He sat behind, Miller Moss, and he sat behind Caleb Williams, who has won the Heisman already. He sat behind Lincoln Riley, who is known for making these good, these quarterbacks into Heisman. There's a couple of them in the league right now.
Mm-hmm. Can't deny.
And let's also just not forget Ashton Gentry. Genty, I don't know how to say his last name.
Genty.
Genty. Running back for Boise State, one of the most underrated running backs. Dude had 19 touchdowns last season. And he is returning. I mean, do want beast mode. And again, kind of a couple of the other transfers, Devon Banks and Jeremiah Irby, 2 Power 5 corners that came through to really help bolster that defense. Tony mentioned they got 4 out of 5 starting, or 4 out of 5 of the O-linemen that started are returning. It's just, I don't know. I've been very high on Boise State this offseason. I think they got a lot of good transfers coming in. I think, having their coach be on for the full time this season is going to help a lot. Chris Marshall, a guy that wasn't mentioned, was a 5-star recruit coming out of high school, was the #3 receiver in 2022, played at, a junior college, finally is going to Boise State now. Former Indiana wide receiver Cam Camper also coming through, 63 catches, 854 yards. So while there's not a lot of like big name talent that you can think of for like that wide receiver room, and there are new faces, these are very talented guys that are coming in. And if Boise State was able to do this with what they had last year, the returning talent and the new faces this year are 10 times better. There should be no reason why Boise State doesn't win this unless they just have a full-on collapse of just injuries and just mental mistakes.
Yep.
Yeah.
This is kind of one of those where I think, this is kind of a gimme. Obviously, you look at week 2 against Oregon, that's probably going to be a shellacking, but they're not in the Mountain West, so it won't go against their record against the Mountain West. That's fine. They can get 70 dropped on them. As long as it's not against a Mountain West opponent, who cares? I don't know. I think Boise State, if all goes well this year, especially because Malachi Nelson will have 4 years of eligibility. If dude pops off this year, like Dante said, due to the 12-team format playoff, you might be seeing Boise State in the playoff soon. They might get shellacked, but you might still be seeing them in the playoffs soon.
They might. I mean, these are 2 strong picks with both deficiencies and some errors. I just think Fresno's is a little less concerning than outside of coaching is an important thing. Like, let's not get it twisted. And you guys have a full-blown young coach, but even he's a question mark because this is first-blown season, first season as a head coach. Again, that inspiration thing that I was telling you guys about, sometimes you play inspire football, and then when it's, you really got the reins about you, when everything's back to normal, it's hard to get that motivation back. So I don't know. It's interesting. They both have head coaching concerns. But as far as the winners for everybody else, Don has Boise State, Hayden has Boise State, and Khalid has Air Force as his winner. So the two
It pained me.
The two crazy ones was Sora's Hawaii and Khalid's Air Force. Well, Hawaii is a runner-up, but Air Force is a winner. But Air Force has got a sneaky team, man. They really do.
Air Force always does that.
It's like you hate to play them.
It's just annoying. It's a nuisance.
Yeah, it's a nuisance for sure.
They do have one of the best alternate uniforms this year too. Just gotta say that. I saw what they like announced yesterday. Holy moly, that was the sickest jersey I've ever seen.
You said they're alternate?
It's like one game alternate. Yeah.
Now I have to see.
Oh, I think Sora would definitely love this one.
Is it with the chrome helmets?
No, it has like little decal like around the top in it. Like they were announced yesterday.
The best ones I like from them is just the gray ones where it looks like the
I don't know who this redhead is talking to me right now, but I just came here to see the uniform lady.
Alternate uniforms. Now I'm interested. Uniforms.
Okay. I do like the gloves.
Okay.
My man's is just on a warthog. They are playing Halo in real life right now.
Yes,
they are defending Reach.
The video is insane too.
The video. Okay.
Oh, so they have the wings on the top.
Yeah, they got the wings on the top.
They're only using that for one game.
For it being Air Force and it being the alternate, it's military. It makes sense. Just for any other team, like if Oregon came out with the wings, I'd be like, that's too much.
I don't like them.
I like them. I like them a lot.
And
I usually don't like service.
I don't mind it. It's for one game. It represents their military branch. I don't mind it.
Yeah. I mean,
again, if Oregon came out with the wings, I'd be like, this shit is ugly. Please stop.
Well, that was the Mountain West predictions. Guys, that was a good one. We wrapped up all our conferences. Again, if you guys want the Patreon link, I can send that. The only way to get our predictions is on Patreon. We will be having the full spreadsheet there for people to access, to view, not to edit.
You guys should come to the Patreon. We got good content over there.
Come to the Patreon.
And don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button and ring the bell notification so you're always notified.
All right. Well, the 12th. Oh my god. That's what I'm saying. This one, like, bro, you just gotta just be you, bro. Just be you, bro.